Why are there not more people talking about the big questions in life? Let's dive right in. We explore the most controversial ideas in religion, sex, psychology, AI, architecture and more. Join debates, speeches and performances from world-renowned thinkers like Richard Dawkins, Deepak Chopra, Sam Harris and many others. Dive deep into multidisciplinary viewpoints and expand your mind with us. Subscribe to Deep World today and let's redefine the boundaries of thought together.
Okay, so let me start out by saying that, in my opinion, all belief is a cover-up for insecurity. All belief. If I asked you, do you believe in electricity or gravity, you would find that a ridiculous question. So I'm not here to convince you that you should believe in anything, especially the supernatural. I'm here to ask you the most fundamental question that was posed earlier. Does the universe have a purpose? And there are two ways of looking at it. If you look at it from the top down, from the point of view of biological organisms, it looks like biological organisms are purpose-driven. Even a nematode or a small microorganism has some kind of sentience. It senses the environment, it processes it, it gets away from predators, it looks for food. So to me, biological organisms are purpose-driven, there's no question. In the human nervous system, that takes on questions like, do I have a soul? Does God exist? What is the meaning of life? Why is there a universe? Why is there awareness? Is there truth, goodness, beauty, harmony? Is evolution merely random mutations and natural selection? Or could there be other factors? Could it be guided by awareness and behavior? These questions occur to human beings. But I would say all organisms are purpose-driven. Now, when you look at this from the bottom up, from the point of view of individual particles coming out of the so-called quantum vacuum, there seems to be no purpose. It seems to be totally random for the individual particles that emerge from the infinite void, you might say, purposely, without purpose. But when you look at the sum total of their activity, you have a universe. You have constants that fine-tune the universe to be what it is. You have precise laws of nature which make sense to a rational human being. So I think even from the bottom up, I'm compelled to say that there's an organizing intelligence, there's a deeper consciousness that throws out this universe at the speed of light.
Sorry,
from nothing.
Dr. Chopra. Time is over. Thank you very much. Un aplauso, por favor. So now,
there is no question but that...
You have 90 seconds, please.
There is no
90 segundos en el reloj.
There is no question, of course, but that individual organisms, nematode worms, birds, kangaroos, anything you like, behaves as if they have a purpose. You described apparent sentience on the part of worms. They react to stimuli, they approach things. Individual organisms, animals, plants, bacteria, all behave as if they have a purpose. That's precisely the problem that Darwin solved. Why do living things look as though they've got a purpose? Darwin showed showed the answer to that problem was evolution by natural selection. But that's a very, very different matter from saying that the universe has a purpose. This is a complete confusion of scale. Individual organisms have a purpose for reasons we understand very well, Darwinian reasons, but that is 100 miles, 1,000,000 miles from saying that something like the universe has a purpose. Purpose came into the universe late. It came into the universe late after the Darwinian process had got going, had produced nervous systems, had produced brains. Brains are things that have purposes. Brains have purposes. Brains, in the case of human brains, make machines which also have purposes. But that's the correct understanding of purpose. To push purpose back to the universe itself is to make a complete confusion.
You have, Deepak, 60 seconds.
I think the confusion is because Dr. Dawkins looks at biological organisms as separate from the universe and not as activities of the universe. You and I right now are an activity of the universe. And as an activity of the universe, we are expressing purpose. But Dr. Dawkins did not address why the universe is fine-tuned so that we can have this conversation. Why are the laws so rational? What is the origin of these laws? To bypass that, we would have to propose 10 to the power of 500 universes that randomly arise from nothing. Not only is the universe arising from nothing, but this nothing seems to be the womb of creation, where nature goes to the same place to create a galaxy of stars or an electrochemical impulse in your own neural networks.
Thank you very much. We have two options. One is, now we take another ball and now you make him a question, or we give each of you 1 more minute to keep talking in depth about this important concern. Would you rather that?
Yeah.
Por favor, pongan otra vez. You will have 3 minutes and you 3 minutes, okay? Por favor, 3 minutos, please.
The issue of the fine-tuning of the universe, of course, is a completely different one, and it's a very interesting one which we can talk about. However, that was not what you were originally talking about. You were originally talking about the apparent purposefulness of living organisms, which is striking. I mean, it's a very, very important aspect of living things. That's why we needed Darwin to explain it. Darwin did explain it. Darwin explained how, starting with no purpose at all, nothing that you could call purpose, the laws of physics, working through this remarkable process called evolution by natural selection, gave rise to cells, to nerve cells, to nervous systems, to brains, to the illusion of purpose. Well, indeed, the very genuine purpose, because in living things, purpose is a very genuine phenomenon. We understand how it happened because of evolution. Now, to go back to the universe is another matter entirely. And now you've changed the subject and talked about the alleged fine-tuning of the universe, which is a very important and interesting question, one that is the province of physics. You and I are both biologists, not physicists, but we can have a go at talking about it. Some physicists have alleged that the fundamental constants of the universe are very fine-tuned, such that if any of them were any different, the universe would not come into being the way that it is, and we wouldn't have stars, we wouldn't have galaxies, we wouldn't have chemistry, we wouldn't have life, and we wouldn't have us. Some physicists dispute the alleged fine-tuning. Other physicists say that we don't yet understand enough about physics in order to know where those fundamental constants come from. Yet other physicists still talk about a multiverse in which there's a very large number of universes, and most of those universes do not have the physical constants tuned in order to give rise to us, but a tiny minority do, and by the anthropic principle, we clearly have to be in one of those universes that does have those properties. 3 minutes is an absurdly short time in which to talk about this, and it wasn't the original question, but perhaps we can come back to it on with a later discussion.
Muchas gracias. Dr. Chopra, he just want to use 2 minutes. You have 3 minutes like he had it.
Okay.
Whatever you want. But
So Dr. Dawkins, you and I are both have biological backgrounds. We have both dabbled a little bit in quantum physics. I have to say that my current book is co-authored by a chaired professor in genetics and neuroscience at Harvard. I am writing and have papers accepted in professional journals on quantum biology and neuroscience, and I can give you the citations later. But there's a school of scientists who believe that if you look across the universe, it shows the following properties: sentience at all levels. By sentience, I mean the ability to sense information, process it, and come up with an intelligent response. Complementarity at all levels, which means that the universe is empirical, but most of it is actually non-empirical, non-observable. It is wave-like. When you don't know where these waves are, they'd have no units of mass and energy, and it is particle-like, which have units of mass and energy. So it gets weird at this level. But it also seems to be self-organizing. It seems to be self-regulating. It seems to be self-evolving. It's an evolution. Of course, I'm not arguing with you that Darwin is right or wrong. I think Darwin made the most major contribution that we can have to our understanding of the evolution of species. But that's not the question. The question is, does evolution itself have a purpose? And I think, yes, evolution has a purpose. It's evolution itself. Evolution is guided by awareness, by consciousness, and the purpose of evolution is maximum diversity, because that's what we see in the universe. And what we experience as perceptual phenomena are not fundamental reality at all, because every species has its own perceptual experience of the universe. These scientists that I work with say that awareness is a singularity, perceptual experiences are many, and the evolution of species is actually the evolution of consciousness to express itself as multiple observers, multiple modes of observation, and multiple objects of observation. We are the eyes of the universe looking at itself. This brain is the observation deck for the universe to experience itself. That's the purpose.
The scientists that I respect are scientists who work hard to be understood, to use language clearly, to use words correctly, and to understand what is going on. We have been subjected to a kind of word salad of scientific jargon used out of context with inappropriately, apparently uncomprehendingly. There is a deep confusion going on here between the properties of things within the universe and the properties of the universe itself. It is one thing to say that the universe contains objects that have sentience and the various other properties that you mentioned. Of course it contains objects that have sentience. We are among those objects. So are dogs. So are chimpanzees. The universe contains sentience. The universe is not sentient. This is the one thing, Deepak, you seem not to understand. You're constantly confusing explanations at the level of what goes on inside the universe with the universe itself. It's not enough to say the universe contains sentience, contains purpose, etc., and say, therefore, the universe is sentient, the universe is purposeful. Evolution, you say, has a purpose, diversity, because what we see is diversity. Of course what we see is diversity. That's the consequence of evolution. But you mistake when you think that evolution is driven towards it.
Time is over.
How much time do I have to respond? How much time? So,
1:30 minutes and we,
how much?
please, 1:30, it's your turn.
So Dr. Dawkins, I would like to remind you that ad hominem is a logical fallacy, and that's Science 101. You should know that.
Ad hominem means talking about a person
This is
as
my
an
turn
individual.
to speak, sir. Okay? You accused me of jargon. You accused me of misusing language. How many people understood what I was saying?
You're lying.
Okay? Now, I just came back from a conference on science and non-duality, where there were over 300 scientists, biologists, neuroscientists, etc., who totally get this language. So just because it sounds like jargon to you doesn't mean it's jargon. You know, when a doctor speaks to a patient, the patient thinks the doctor is speaking jargon. When a mathematician speaks to people who are not mathematicians, this is an evolving science, sir. We do not know the answers to the two most fundamental questions of existence. Number one, what is the stuff of the universe? We don't know. 96% is dark energy and dark matter. Of the 4% that's atomic, 99% of that is invisible hydrogen and helium. And we don't know why there is awareness. The two most fundamental questions of our existence.
Please.
Of course,
1:30, por favor.
we don't know about dark matter, dark energy. That's why we need more science and better science in order to solve that. You've changed the subject yet again. Let's talk about sentience. You say the universe has sentience. The universe doesn't have sentience. Things in the universe have sentience. Why do you confuse this audience by saying the universe has sentience?
Can you tell me what the composition of the universe is?
That wasn't the question.
No, because you're talking things, right? Things are basically the atomic universe is stardust, and stardust has sentience in you and me. According to people like Freeman Dyson, even atoms have sentience.
Atoms have no sentience.
You disagree with Freeman Dyson?
Yeah,
then?
if that's what he says, which I doubt, I disagree with him. Atoms do not have sentience. Atoms contribute to making brains. Brains have sentience. You need a highly complicated organization. It's a fundamental error to say that because a complicated thing has a quality like sentience, musicality, mathematical ability, and is made of atoms, therefore the atoms have sentience, musical ability, mathematical ability, etc. They do not. Atoms have to be arranged in complicated organizations, complicated structures interacting with each other, and then you will get emergent properties such as sentience, such as poetry, such as mathematical ability, such as spirituality. These things do not inhere in the atoms themselves, or if they do, you've got a hard job to prove it.
You have a hard job to prove it? Can you prove it?
I'm sure you're aware of the hard problem of consciousness. I'm sure you're aware that we have no science that tells us why we have any experience, whether it's mental, subjective, or it's an experience of the objective world. How photons coming and hitting our retina create the experience of a three-dimensional reality in space and time. This is the hard problem. It's the most fundamental problem in science. First, what is the stuff of the universe? And second, why is there awareness of the universe? Is awareness of the universe and the universe the same thing? Because if there was a universe outside of your awareness, for all practical purposes, you would never know it. So to say that sentience is an emergent property is assuming that only brains produce consciousness, whereas in fact, even a single fertilized cell, when you were conceived, was fully alive, was fully aware, and did not have a brain. It was present, it was aware, and it differentiated into trillions of cells, more than all the stars in the Milky Way galaxy, to create who you are. So to say that sentience requires an emergence through evolution, instead of saying that actually evolution could be driven by consciousness, these are the questions that some people are asking. And if you propose that sentience is an emergent property, then answer to me why there is no science that can actually give us an explanation to the two most fundamental questions of our existence. What is the nature of the universe? What's it made up of? And why is there sentience? Why is there sentience? You know, we talk about sentience as not just human sentience, which is, of course, you know, an evolutionary process, but sentience came from sentience.
Have you seriously...
Evolution does not explain the origin of life. It only explains the transformation of species.
Yes, you changed the subject again.
You will have 1 minute and 1 minute, and we will finish with this topic of the universe. And
have you seriously just said that a single cell has consciousness?
A single cell has awareness.
What do you mean by that?
That it has the ability to respond to its environment.
Of course it has the ability to respond to its environment. That is not consciousness.
So you said a while ago, atoms get together to create complexity. How do they get together?
By processes which are well understood by biologists.
By a process which is random or intelligent?
Not intelligence.
Okay.
By the processes of embryology put together by the processes of evolution. You cannot seriously sit there and say that the hard problem of consciousness, and it is a very hard problem, is solved by saying that a single cell has consciousness.
A single cell has sentience in the fact that it can respond to its environment and express its biological autonomy.
But, okay, just 1 second, please. Un segundo, por favor. I think we're in a little loop because we cannot prove either things.
You know, I want to nail this. I want to nail this. This gets to the root of the problem.
It does.
Consciousness is something very, very complicated. Of course we don't understand it. That's why it's called the hard problem. It's something that happens when brains reach a certain level of complexity. Now, a single cell, a single neuron, a single amoeba, a single cell, a thermostat even, has sentience in your sense. But that is nothing to do with...
Has the ability to take in information, process information, and respond with autonomy. That is sentience.
That's trivial. That's utterly trivial.
You're confusing perception with awareness. Perception is not fundamental reality. If there was an insect with 100 eyes looking at me, it wouldn't experience the same me as you are. So perception is a species-specific and culture-specific experience in consciousness. It has nothing to do with fundamental reality, the awareness that differentiates into what we call, in us anyway, cognition, perception, imagination, insight, intuition, creativity, choice, freedom, the desire for meaning, purpose. All of that are expressions of awareness as consciousness and influence everything that we experience in life.
You think a single cell has that? And you think a single
cell
has
a rudimentary form of awareness.
Do you think an atom has that?
Sorry?
Do you think an atom has that?
According to Freeman Dyson, yes.
Freeman Dyson says an atom has awareness.
Yes, sir. Check it out.
Señoras y señores, un aplauso para los dos. ¡Qué extraordinario!
Also,
Deepak, 1 second, please. At the end, the problem is that we cannot prove it very well, and we'll talk about it but just 1 second. Changing a little bit about the topic, the second box of our dialogue has to do with science. I have been very surprised that you, for example, you mentioned, well, both of us, we share the same background in biology, in medicine, in science. The question is, how come that you share the same scientific background and you differ so much? My question is, are there two types of science? Or he went to a school that it was not really a very good school, or you went to the wrong school, or what's going on here? Or there is a physics quantics for you and for... Please explain me, how could you share
like
this background?
Would you like to go first, or you want me
Yes.
to go first?
3 minutos, por favor.
My attitude to science is that we are fundamentally trying to understand how things work. Science is very difficult. It's very difficult to understand how things work. The hard problem of consciousness has been mentioned, the problem of the origin of the universe, the problem of the origin of life, the problem of how life has this uncanny appearance of being designed, the size of the universe, the scale of the universe, how embryology works. These are all deeply difficult questions. They require hard scientific work, and in all cases, I think I'm right in saying that scientific work consists of explaining complicated things in terms of the interactions of their parts or of simpler things. So we always try to explain complex things in terms of simpler things. We do not resort to magical language. We do not snow our audience with highfalutin sounding words that don't actually mean anything. We use words that actually have meaning. We use expressions that can be tested. We work hard at understanding the universe in terms of its component parts. We don't invent superarching entities which have no explanation in themselves. We don't invoke ideas like the universe has consciousness, the universe has awareness, atoms have awareness. If we have a difficult problem like awareness, we explain it in terms of the interactions between small parts working together in ways that scientists understand. If Freeman Dyson ever said atoms are aware, then he's wrong. I don't think he said it. I think he should sue you.
Wow. 3 minutos. 3 minutes.
Ad hominem is a logical fallacy, science 101. I'm not going to resort to the tactics that you use, sir. Friedman Dyson said it, and so did Schrödinger say that consciousness is in the universe. Max Planck said that mind is the matrix of matter. I could go on and on about the pioneers of the early physics, the quantum physics, who were compelled to include consciousness as a fundamental aspect of reality. Consciousness is the white elephant in the room. You require consciousness to come up with a theory. You require consciousness to design an experiment. You require consciousness to make an observation. Science is the offspring of consciousness. It is the product of consciousness. So that's the first thing I want to say. The second thing I want to say here is very clearly that there's no argument about the fact that evolutionary biology explains everything about the species going from one species to another. But if you want to understand science in its totality, you have to bring consciousness into the equation, because as we currently practice science, it's based on what we call a subject-object split. There's an observer involved in every observation. Science doesn't ask who the observer is, who's the observing self, where is the observing self. But in the absence of the observing self, there wouldn't be any observation and there wouldn't be any science. The observing self cannot be glimpsed by science and scientific methodology because it happens to be the observer. The observer cannot be observed. And that's where spirituality comes in. If you define spirituality as self-awareness, only consciousness can know consciousness. Only consciousness can explain consciousness. Only consciousness can understand consciousness. Any scientific understanding of consciousness through looking at the brain is at best inferential. You're looking at correlations of experiences in consciousness through objective means. So I think science is incomplete as a way of understanding fundamental reality. It's based on a fragmented view of reality. Subject-object split. Nature is one. The universe includes observers, modes of observation, and objects that are observed. So science, because it's fragmented, like religion, which has been fragmented, is capable of creating diabolical technologies. Everything that is wrong today in the world, everything that is wrong today in the world, from global warming to biological warfare to mechanized death to eco-destruction to the extinction of species, is because science has evolved without the evolution of spirituality.
Thank you.
Science, spirituality,
okay.
makes science
complete.
Now,
okay. Well, I will have a few questions from. Please.
I shall not make an argument ad hominem. My argument is ad bullshitem.
Okay.
You're violating all the rules of logic.
Of course we need to understand consciousness. Of course consciousness is vital to everything we do. Consciousness is something we are all aware of, is something profoundly difficult to understand. It's something that science desperately needs to understand. That we can surely agree upon. That does not mean the universe is conscious. That does not mean any of the things you've just said. It means that consciousness is a subject which is worthy of scientific exploration. Proper scientific exploration, which means understanding consciousness in terms of nervous systems. Possibly in the future in terms of computers, because it's conceivable that computing machines may reach the stage of complexity and organization that they too will experience subjective consciousness. But whatever experiences subjective consciousness is going to be complicated, is going to be a very large organization of lots of small parts interacting together in very complex ways. An atom will never be conscious, nor will a single cell.
So may I ask you a question? Have you ever engaged in self-reflection or self-awareness? Have you ever experienced transcendence? Have you ever questioned if perceptual reality is different from fundamental reality? Have you ever questioned the idea that science does not examine reality but creates models of reality? Have you ever thought, if computers will explain consciousness, have you ever thought who will design those computers and where will those computers be conceived and constructed? If you have never experienced a fundamental, unique experience that has existed throughout history, through antiquity, it's called transcendence. It's experiencing the self. And it's the knowingness that the self of the individual is the self of the universe. I'm not talking this, creating this language by myself. This is the perennial philosophy that Aldous Huxley spoke about. It's what Gottfried Leibniz spoke about. The sages of the Upanishads spoke about. The transcendentalists like Emerson and Thoreau spoke about. But if you have never had the experience of what people call non-symbolic awareness,
okay, we have your question.
You have no
what
right
about
to comment on science being a complete
Deepak
way to understand reality.
Okay, the question is there.
I have experienced plenty of things which could be called transcendental. I've experienced the feeling of almost mystical wonder that I get when I look up at the stars, look up at the Milky Way, contemplate the galaxies receding from us, listen to a Schubert quintet, read a sonnet of Shakespeare. These are all things which only a human mind is capable of doing.
So may I ask you? Okay, sorry.
Only a human mind is capable of doing that. And a human mind is capable of doing those things because the human mind has been put together in the brain as a highly complicated organization that has evolved over some 4 billion years of evolution, putting together nervous systems. It is a stunning achievement of evolution to have put together the human brain that is capable of being moved by such things. I yield to no one in my capacity to be moved by what you call the transcendental. What I do not do, however, is to indulge in mystical nonsense about it being there before there were brains or the equivalent of brains.
Wow. Okay, now, 1 second.
I want to ask him
you
one
have
question.
the question.
Okay, so I'm going to...
Okay.
I understand that you've had those wonderful experiences. Have you had the experience of gratitude? Have you experienced epistemological humility? Have you experienced reverence for life and for existence? And if so, was it your neural networks manufacturing those experiences, neurochemicals manufacturing their experiences, or was there a deeper, intelligent, organizing consciousness that was influencing the behavior of those neural networks?
How much deeper do you want? How much deeper do you want?
Answer me, sir. Have you experienced reverence?
You have asked me, have I experienced gratitude? I experience gratitude. Gratitude to nothing in particular, but I feel gratitude. I feel all those things that you say. And I do not yield to you in my feeling of the depth of which it is, the depth of understanding that we have yet to fathom, yet to plumb, in order to understand what's going on inside the human brain.
Who's
boggles
we?
my
Who's
mind.
we? Who's we?
The scientific community.
The scientific community.
Yes.
Driven by mechanistic neural networks and chemicals?
Yes, and let's belittle mechanistic neural networks and chemicals. They are
well,
very,
then tell
very
me how they produce consciousness.
I don't know. That's why we're working on it. You don't know either.
No, wait. You say you don't know, but you totally dismiss mystical experiences or experiences that have existed for thousands of years, subjective, but nevertheless symbolically present in every tradition of the world, where people have experienced what I would call non-symbolic awareness, non-dual awareness, subject-object confluence, unity consciousness. You totally dismiss this because it doesn't fit your scientific worldview.
I don't dismiss it for one moment. I don't dismiss it. I want to explain it.
Who wants to explain it?
Just let him finish.
I want to explain these experiences.
Who's I?
I want science to explain it.
When you say I, who do you mean by I?
Science, in this case.
So I is science.
No. That's just a dishonest. That's dishonest.
It's.
Please.
I, as a scientist, want the scientific community to understand these wonderful experiences that mystics throughout the ages have experienced, and I believe that I've experienced something similar. I believe that you have experienced something similar. They need explaining, and they will be explained, if ever, in terms of brains.
That's a promissory note.
It is.
In this economy, don't trust a promissory note.
It is a promissory note.
And then
nothing to be ashamed of.
So you have extreme confidence in the way we do science. You're not open to a consciousness-driven science, a consciousness-based science.
I don't know what that would even mean.
An observer-based science.
Observer-based science is another matter, of course. Science is necessarily observer-based.
Well, observer is consciousness.
We need to...
Isn't the observer...
You don't have a monopoly of consciousness. We all have consciousness.
Okay.
We're trying to explain
Un aplauso para los dos. Wow. Vamos a ir a otro tema. We're going to another topic. We have talked a lot about consciousness. Probably have... Now I would like to ask you, Deepak, and then Richard, we have been talking a lot about, in Mexico and many places, that if we assume that there is this consciousness, we can work with this energy. And we have written a lot of books about it. And that you could actually attract things or make things happen. And there is a purpose, but there is also an intention. So my questions to you, and then I will make a question to Dr. Dawkins, is if you can really make this change and this energy to have a direction, how come you cannot change his direction and you cannot change the direction of a lot of people from here? What is the problem with this energy that you are not attracting to make things happen the way you understand the world, because there is a way to do it?
We are all conditioned by the hypnosis of our childhood and conditioned by society, by ideologies, by religion, by history, by economics, and the prevailing scientific paradigm to look at the world in a certain way. And you asked the question, intention. I would ask, what's the origin of intention? Okay? Do you believe in free will, sir?
I think free will is a very persuasive illusion. I'm very pleased to have that illusion. I behave and feel as if I have free will.
Well, then we might as well stop the debate. None of us has free will or the ability to make a choice right now. I do believe that your intentions trigger behavior, trigger neural networks to act in a certain way, activate genes that are activated as a result of your emotional experiences. So I believe that intention triggers neural networks and then reinforces them, if you reinforce the intention, what we call habit, to create what is called long-term potentiation, and that then your behavior influences the activity of your genes to reinforce that behavior. So the fact is that you won't change anybody's mind here after the debate. In fact, those people who agree with Dr. Dawkins will go back stronger in their belief. Okay, and those people who agree with me will go back stronger. We're not going to change your minds because we're all bamboozled by our conditioning to begin with.
Well, that can we prove it? That can we prove it? We will see. Dr. Dawkins, how could you explain that so many people follow his ideas? I know that it's very frustrated for you. I can feel it. The way that our brain works and how difficult it is. The question that I make you, how do you explain the brain of most of the people, not everybody, probably not even most, but how many millions of people follows and believe what you think it's really bullshit?
I don't know. I mean,
Un aplauso para los dos, gran evento. Señoras y señores, ¿cómo vamos de tiempo?
By the way,
we have 5 minutes. So please, I would love to have more time, but we have another debate. Okay, we will have 10 minutes. So, okay, we will have the whole year here. No, yes. Okay.
By the way,
please.
Bullshit recycles as life.
I didn't hear that. What is it?
Bullshit recycles as life.
Okay. In India, we call it cow shit. That's where we call the cows.
Vamos
holy.
A tener 10 minutos, tenemos otro debate. Les quiero preguntar, por favor, vamos a probar la hipótesis, que es además de un biólogo, que acaba de decir Deepak. Who will prove his hypothesis? Who have changed? ¿Quién ha cambiado? Pero sean honestos, no por darle lugar a uno o al otro. ¿Quién antes del debate pensaba como Deepak o como Richard, pero después de esto cambió de opinión? Griten, yo cambié, yo. Well, there are few people. Okay. You have to ask him just one question, and we will talk 5 minutes in each of those topics, and the debate will be over, okay?
So he asked a question.
It's your turn, please. Or would you rather that we have another, you have a question from your own, please.
Have something. Still learning my way around this. Okay, this is a quote from Deepak. It's an interesting one. Evolution doesn't simply, this is from your book with Mlodinow. Evolution doesn't simply scramble old ingredients into new forms, nor does it just turn small clumps of matter into bigger clumps. Instead, evolution makes lumps of creativity. These happen in quantum form. That is, there is a sudden emergence of a property that never existed before. Quantum, there's a little gap there then, quantum leaps dominate in creation everywhere we look, but especially in the startling, beautiful novelty of life forms on Earth. The cosmos is ruled by creativity. Now, neither of us are physicists, so neither of us actually know much about quantum theory, but we are biologists, and you have used the jargon of quantum theory there to apply to evolution as though evolution it takes quantum leaps, or what do you mean by that?
The the emergence of language, for example, from no language at all, is a quantum leap. Okay, the emergence of organisms, the transition of organisms where you do not actually see continuity, is a quantum leap. Quantum leaps are happening in consciousness and biology all the time. Right now I'm wearing biosensors, by the way, and these are measuring things like blood pressure, skin resistance, all kinds of things. This information can be transmitted to an iPhone and goes to a computer and scripts where we are doing digital monitoring of consciousness, how it affects biology. Wait a minute. So if I said, I know his blood pressure is rising right now just by me saying these things. So this is right there, proof of the mind-body connection. You know, if somebody says, I love you, and it means something to you, your brain makes dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, opiates. If the same person says, another person says, I love you, or the same person, and you're thinking of divorcing them, then you don't make dopamine, you make adrenaline and cortisol, and it happens instantly. There's a quantum shift in your biology just in the way you processed meaning. And there's no physical mechanism that explains how we process meaning in our lives. Only consciousness can process meaning. So when you say quantum leaps in evolution, one of the big problems in evolution right now, you will admit, is the missing gaps in the fossil record. Now, when I say that, evolutionary biologists will either snigger or raise their blood pressure, which he's doing right now. So, you know, because they are so sure that evolution has only those two mechanisms, natural selection and random evolution. The current issue of the New Scientist has a feature article called Do Organisms Guide Their Own Evolution? And it talks about how phenotypes might drive the genetic expression, how use-dependent activation of genes will reinforce even the propagation of those genes through natural selection. The reporter who wrote the article, he called Dr. Dawkins, by the way, who was extremely dismissive of him. Do you remember him calling you?
Time is over. Otros 3 minutos. You have 3 minutes, Dr. Dawkins.
This really epitomizes the problem we're up against. You have used the word quantum leap in two totally different ways, and you've confused everybody, not everybody, I'm happy to say.
A quantum leap.
You have used the phrase quantum leap to apply to the origin of language and the origin of life and jumps in the fossil record. Now, this is a purely metaphorical usage of the term quantum leap. All you're using it for is a change that's occurred in the world for which we have as yet no explanation.
A change.
May I finish, please? On the other hand, you have used the word quantum in the proper physicist sense. You talked about digital information going to satellites and things like that. In that case, you were talking about quantum theory in the true sense of quantum mechanics. You are bamboozling people by using quantum in two completely different senses, giving them the impression that there's something about modern physics, something about the spooky aspects of modern physics, which is relevant to things like the origin of language or the origin of life or breaks in the fossil record. Now, those three things, the origin of life, origin of language, breaks in the fossil record, are scientific problems. To the extent that we don't yet have the answer to them, we're still working on them. They have nothing whatsoever to do with quantum in the physicist sense.
He has 1:30 minutes. You still have 1:30 seconds. Okay. It's your turn. 3 minutos, por favor.
There are several uses of the word quantum that are not restricted to a subatomic particle moving from one location to another location without going through the space between. That's what a leap is, a quantum leap in quantum physics. But the broader community uses quantum for any phenomenon, any space-time event that exists in one location in space or time and then exists in another location of space and time without going through the intervening space. It's called the discontinuity. And the use I have given it is a very broad use. Of course, Dr. Dawkins rightly claims that it is a metaphorical use, but he should understand that all science is metaphor anyway, to begin with. Nobody's actually, explained how a subatomic particle appears out of a non-empirical realm. And then when it's not being observed or it's not interacting with other particles, how does it go back? So yes, quantum leap has a much broader connotation, including if you watch Star Trek, when the captain says, "Beam me up, Scotty," and Scotty presses a button, and the captain disappears here and shows up there without going through the space in between. So I agree, I've used it metaphorically, but in fact, all science is a metaphor.
Minuto y medio, por favor.
Metaphors are extremely valuable. I use them myself all the time, but a good metaphor is one that clarifies and doesn't obscure.
For you, sir, it confuses you.
Please,
it's not
Deepak.
confusing a lot of people out there.
Please.
Perhaps you should catch up.
You talked about the analogy being, in this case, going from one place to another without passing through the intermediates. That's a hell of a leap for you to make. When you talk about the origin of life, there is no such thing as not passing through the intermediate stages. There were intermediate stages. We just don't know what they were at present. That's a very different thing. In the case of gaps in the fossil record, the gaps in the fossil record apply quite simply because not everything fossilizes. It's rather a good thing it doesn't, otherwise we'd be snowed under with fossils. The origin of language, a mysterious and fascinating question. We don't know what the intermediate stages were, but we're absolutely sure there were intermediate stages. There were intermediate stages in all three cases. Now, it is true that in everyday language, in the English language, we do use the phrase quantum leap to mean something rather vague, but we don't bamboozle audiences by deliberately confusing that with a modern physics explanation which everybody, including you and me, finds hard to understand.
Incidentally, because I was coming here and because I've been heavily criticized by the mainstream scientific community for my book Quantum Healing, including by Dr. Dawkins, I just, out of curiosity this morning, went to Google to look at the reviews of Quantum Healing when it first appeared in 1988. And there's a really good review, guys, in the New England Journal of Medicine of that book, okay? So, again, Dr. Dawkins would like to check it out, just like he wants to check out Freeman Dyson, because it doesn't appear with his worldview. I have just had a paper accepted in a journal called Neuroquantology with 2 quantum physicists, including a chaired professor in a university in California. It's going to appear in December 25. I have written papers on quantum consciousness in the Journal of Cosmology, a special edition that was edited by Sir Roger Penrose. So, I am not that loose with my language. I know when I use metaphor, and I know when I use it accurately as well.
Thank you very much, Richard. Thank you very much. Let me just share very few things with you. We're almost running out of time. It's pretty interesting that in the side of science, we still have a lot of questions, and we know that we have to have a curious mind, think about it, but we don't have all the answers, and this is the scientific mind. In the other hand, as we can see with the spirituality, probably in this side of the spectrum, he or somebody or many people have found or discovered many answers that scientists are still looking for. And probably the reference that Deepak put to support his work are the same that will support him or vice versa. And at the end will be a loop. And we have been talking around all this time into 2 big questions: the purpose of the universe, the awareness of the consciousness, the methodology that science uses, the methodology that spiritual people uses, and also we have talked about two kinds of sciences in a way. We share the same background, but we differ in all the results and the outcomes.
Thank you for watching Deep World. Stay tuned for more explorations into ideas, arts and sciences. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. But before you go, let's take a moment to explore the power of curiosity. Imagine a world where questioning the status quo is not just encouraged but celebrated, where every why leads to a new adventure, a new discovery and a new way of thinking. This is the essence of Deep World. Curiosity is the engine that drives innovation, creativity and understanding. It's what pushes us to look beyond the surface, to dig deeper and to seek out the truths that lie beneath. It's the spark that ignites the fire of knowledge and the fuel that keeps it burning. So whether you're pondering the mysteries of the universe, the complexities of the human mind, or the beauty of artistic expression, remember that curiosity is your greatest ally. Keep asking questions, keep seeking answers, and never stop exploring. Join us on this journey of discovery, and let's unlock the endless possibilities that curiosity brings. Stay curious, stay inspired, and stay tuned to Deep World. Until next time, keep diving deep.